Welcome to The Table, a podcast where leaders pull up a chair and tell the real story, how they got there and how they stayed there. I'm your host, Jeanette Hernandez. So pull up a seat because this is The Table. So Barbara, thank you so much for joining us at The Table. I know that a lot of people listening today know you, but for those that don't, could you just share a little bit about yourself and company you're with?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Barbara Brown. I'm a Chief Claims Officer for Grange Insurance, and we are based out of Columbus, Ohio. And I've been in the industry about 22 years, and prior to that, I was in private practice. I started off in private practice for a few years, and then we all fall into
Came to claims.
Came into claims, and I've been in claims throughout my entire career in the industry. So started off in the legal department there, and then ended up managing different areas and eventually Chief Claims Officer.
Amazing. When you started in the career as a lawyer, did you always think you would stay just in the legal sector, or did you have an aspiration to get into the C-suite?
So when I started in private practice, I thought I would stay in private practice. And I worked for a larger firm and a smaller firm and kind of experienced both and realized that partner is just more of the same.
Correct.
So I'm like, oh, well,
with more billable hours,
exactly.
right?
I'm like, oh, that may not be for me. And so then I fell into insurance. And when I got into insurance, I loved the legal side. I loved being a client. That was different because I was on the flip side of it. But I wanted to do more. And I actually wanted to be, CEO, like way past.
So you had that aspect. You had the bug early.
Yeah, I had the bug very early. Wanted that. And then got wiser along the way as you realize what those positions are and what you have to give up from a personal sacrifice standpoint. So I love the current role that I'm in today. And I feel like this is where, would I love to do something maybe more eventually? Yes, but I love claims. Like we're a different type of people.
I know. Once you get in, you can't get out.
You can't get out. Once you get past that 3-year marker, I really feel like you're kind of a lifer if you stay in insurance.
So you made it to the table, and you have kind of a unique position because obviously you love law. And so you're getting to do a combination of having that aspiration that you've met of management while still using a base skill that you absolutely like. I don't know that many people, and it's not always the C-suite, it's just that you happen to be at that particular table. Some people aspire to be at a manager or a director. It doesn't matter the proverbial table that you're at. But rarely do I talk to people that get to do what they're passionate about. You kind of just stumble into it, or the path to management to C-suite is more important than really what I do. Because truly, when you get to be C-suite, you could be a COO or a CEO at any type of company, right? It's the skill set and the muscle memory that you have.
Yep. So I will say what's interesting is when I first started being in legal, that was the top of the groups in claims. And really the only path was to be legal leader. Like there was only one option for us in litigation. I wanted to do more. I wanted to be able to have more options. And so to get that, we were not viewed in that way by claims management.
Right, correct, yeah.
So I went to my vice president and said, look, I will do my day job, but you let me manage some non-litigation people and I can show you that I can do it.
Amazing.
I want you to think of me in that way. And so she's like, well, I get you for a job and a half. I'll do it.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So she loved that idea. And so she gave me a few people and I managed them. And then when the next branch manager role opened up, I was the first person she thought of.
So you started at the very beginning of your path saying, I have a plan, I have a roadmap, and I'm going to follow it until I get to the table that I want to sit at.
Correct. Yeah.
That is, I'm not sure that everyone has the discipline to do that. Other opportunities might come up. So how did you stay on the path knowing what the end game was for you?
So I will say I didn't always stay on the path because I was very ambitious as a young person and wanted to go up, up, and up. And then I had an experience where you always put your management hat on. So you've got your organizational hat, I call it. Then you have your people hat. And I've been a people leader is important for me. I had too much of my organizational hat on in order to get ahead. And I had an experience where I wasn't putting that associate first. And it was one of those eye-opening experiences. And I thought, I'm not proud of myself. This is not who I want to be.
I'm a great technician, not a great people person.
I'm like, I need to step back because that's not who I am. And so I actually took a step backwards. So I left that company because that culture was like that. It wasn't the right culture for me. I left that company. I took a step down, ended up back in the legal team, not in leadership. And then I was just like, whatever doors open at this point, I'm not going to be so aggressively pursuing it like I did
Right.
before because that was the wrong field for me.
You were
And then
checking the boxes along
I
the
was
way.
checking the box, like,
Yeah.
what's next? What's next? And not enjoying the journey.
Mhm.
And then they saw leadership in me. This was at Grange. When I came to Grange, they saw, and then I elevated quickly because I wasn't trying to get something ahead of where I should be. I was enjoying the journey,
Right.
enjoying the ride, and putting people first. You still have to wear the organizational hat. It's a tough
Yes,
job.
it is.
You absolutely do, but you can approach it in a way that's empathetic and kind and human to
Mhm.
people when you have to make tough decisions.
Right.
So I feel like that I got to the right culture
Correct.
fit for me, and that's important. But also I got to the right mindset of what really matters in life and what's
Right. So getting there is a path, and everyone has sometimes it falls in your lap, other times, like you, you're very methodical. And I think it's easier in an organization, like Grange or really any claims organization, because there are only 5 or 6 levels, right? So it's very clear in management, I have to do this step, this step, this step.
and people know you. It's a
And people
small
know you,
yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
But you just hit something really interesting, which is getting to the table. Once you're there, so what was your biggest surprise when you got there? So you clearly had said, I have a deficiency with the people part if I'm going to be a C-suite leader.
Mhm.
But when you got there and you saw kind of, I always say behind the curtain,
Yeah.
for you personally, what did you say? Wow, I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, but I'm still missing X.
Interesting, okay. So I would say there's a lot of different things. The first biggest surprise for me was, wow, people are actually doing what my vision is. Like, this is crazy. This is like,
Yeah,
there's
I'm
usually
not the
someone
only
yeah,
one.
there's usually someone that checks that vision and you're like, no, this is my vision with the team, but we're doing it. So I would say that's the biggest thing is that you're rowing in a direction, and as a leader, you're hoping it's the right direction. Like,
Hmm.
you're hoping you're taking your team to the right place. I would say right now we're in such a challenging environment. So there's there's never an arrived because there's always a challenge. There's a challenge with legal system abuse. There's a challenge with AI being implemented so
Something new
fast.
you got to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, something new. And one of the things I find myself doing is I feel like I'm a renaissance woman in that I go from one meeting talking actuarial numbers to the
Mm.
next meeting talking about claims trends to the next meeting talking about ID, like all these different AI.
Hmm.
I'm learning something new every day, and then I'm trying to plan for what does the future look like because when I leave this company, I want to leave it in great shape and in great hands and establish that next generation because to me that's important. Getting that next generation ready and not giving them something that they have to fix. It's something that they can be excited with, that they're on a strong foundation and can move forward with.
I think you just said something really important. Most people believe you get to the C-suite table because you know absolutely
Oh
everything. And
no.
when you show up to those meetings where, like, how does she talk about actuary and AI and all of these different things? Sometimes you have to fake it a little bit,
Yep.
but it's the presence. It's
Mhm.
all the work you did leading up. It's about how you present yourself more than what you know sometimes. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think starting being in legal and not having actually handled pre-litigation claims and then taking over a branch with just having a legal background, I realized I didn't know a lot. I realized that Uh, but most people would come into my office and ask a question. I would, in my head, I'm like, please let me know the answer to this one. Let me know what
Right.
what direction to give
Yep.
them. But I think that's what makes you a great leader is when you can admit that you don't know everything.
And the vulnerability. I
Yeah.
think I think there are some people that think they can't be vulnerable because people will see it as a sign of weakness
Mhm.
and it's the opposite. To your point, it makes you more personable,
Yeah.
it makes you more approachable. What was probably a personal challenge maybe sitting at the table? Because people think it's, oh, it's just management. And then there's always a speculation. Every level that you go up, they're like, well, you made VP. So you don't understand what it's like in the front line. Or you made C suite. Now you don't understand any of it. But we do because
Mhm.
that's our job and we watch it. And I say heavy as the crown. That's just a phrase that
Mhm.
I think is applicable because people, I don't think, realize that as C suite, the weight you have on your
Yeah.
shoulders. Like you worry when there's a rift coming because somebody can't give their child braces or they can't send them to college. Like we take that very personally.
Absolutely.
what was your realization sitting at the table when bringing that personal? Because sometimes it's not discussed,
Hmm.
but we all take it home with us.
Yeah.
So what was your kind of epiphany of bringing the people into the C-suite conversations? It's not always numbers
Yeah.
and process. We have to talk about the people.
Yeah. That responsibility is huge,
Mhm.
right? When you're making decisions that can impact families, people individually, that's a heavy decision making. And so with my leadership team, we're very proactive with trying to look 2, 3 years down the road to make sure that we are by all means doing things through attrition when we possibly can so that we don't have to make hard decisions. I tell my team, look, if we have a layoff, it's because I think partially because we failed as leaders. We
Mhm.
have to foresee things and I have to be and those are tough decisions too, because in the moment people are like, we need replacements, we need reinforcements. I'm like, clear communication is key to
Mhm.
be able to say this is why we're doing what we're doing and the timing and what we're doing and why it matters. So we just had a leadership team summit recently, and I walked us through capacity. I walked us through the next few years, and I'm like, here's why it's going to feel uncomfortable,
Mhm.
but it's going to be more uncomfortable if we don't do the right thing and we end up having to make a decision that we don't want to make.
Right,
So
exactly. Do you feel that, I mean, we all have fear in our jobs. I
absolutely,
mean, every single position, you wake up one day and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to say the right thing or do the right thing.
or have the right verdict.
Or yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's a little out of your control,
yeah, it is.
but do you think that there's something perhaps for the listeners that you could say, it's okay to be fearful and follow your gut, but you're going to fail even
Yep.
at C-suite, and
Hmm.
that's your muscle memory. Don't
Hmm.
be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
And that's a hard message to give people, especially with your direct reports. They don't, I don't want to let my boss down. I don't want to let my company down. But we expect it of ourselves once we
Absolutely.
hit C-suite.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice to people about approaching failure once they're sitting at the table? Because you also have to explain yourself
Yep.
and then have a plan B and fix it. But it's not career ending. You're not going to
Yeah.
get kicked out of the table or the job that you're in, but you do have to know how to recover from it.
Absolutely. So I try to remind people, think back on your successes. What are those lessons learned on your successes? Not a, for some,
Hmm.
but think about your failures. What are the lessons learned on your failures? And you can name off a litany of lessons learned that you have when you fail in life. Failing in life, it's what and being uncomfortable, it's what makes you grow. If you don't have those, if everything goes your way, you're not going to be a very deep person.
Right.
I've learned the most when I have not miserably failed as a leader. I'm like, wow. And then I can give that lesson. I love to learn from other people's lessons
Hmm.
instead of me having to do them all on my own. Share those lessons. That's what's critical is when you have a failure. And sometimes especially young leaders, it's fun to watch them have ideas and I'm like, they've got to go out and
They
experience
have
themselves.
to.
They have to figure out maybe this doesn't work. I have a hunch it may not work, but as long as it's not detrimental to the company,
Right.
you got to have those
I
failures
say
because
if you don't burn down the company or kill anybody, I
yeah,
can pretty much help you with any decision that
exactly.
wasn't a good one.
Exactly. I know you need those for a building block to be mature and grow. And then you pass your wisdom on when you get older.
I I think that people have a misperception, maybe not, but I'd love your opinion on when you get to the proverbial table, whatever level that it is, that somehow you get to sit there forever. Like
Yeah.
I made it. I got in the club. Like my career, I'm at the pinnacle of everything. Nothing is guaranteed. And
No.
actually the stakes are much higher. Failure's okay if you can recover and have a plan and all the things you
Yep.
chatted about. But I mean, you've been at Grange for quite a while, but I'm sure you've had a position where either they moved you quicker because maybe it wasn't a good fit. It's not
Mhm.
always a bad thing,
Yeah.
but how do you know when to walk away? If the opportunity doesn't present, you say, I'm just not sitting here. I'm not feeling right. I don't feel like I'm contributing. I'm making too many mistakes, or just something feels off. I think a lot of people sit for a multitude of reasons longer than they should instead of finding a better table
Mhm.
that might, whether it's cultural or it's just you said, I got bored because I knew everything. Can you give any advice about leaving the table? When to recognize when maybe there's a different one for you to go to?
Yeah. I think we've all had roles in the past where you knew it wasn't the right fit, but
Hmm.
it's really hard to do change. It's really hard to make that decision and acknowledge, hey, I'm not great at this.
Right.
It's hard.
Or it's just not a good fit.
It's not a good
Right.
fit.
Right.
Culturally, it's not a good fit. I've been at places where culturally it's not a good fit. And I had to make a very hard decision because I'd been there so long. It felt like family, but it wasn't the right place for me to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
When you get in the right place where you flourish, that's when you know, gosh, I wish I would have made this decision so many
Earlier.
years earlier because that was silly. I wasted time in my career. So be willing to take the chance, it's challenging and it's hard, but you will be happier. And it's okay if you make a step and it's the wrong one. That's okay.
You can adjust.
Yeah, you can adjust. You're not going to be perfect. If you're the type of person that lands in the first role and that's the perfect role, well, you are a very small minority. Not many people can do that. But if you can explore and find the right place for you, it's about happiness. Jobs are hard, right? No matter what
Yes.
work you do, it's work for a
Mhm.
reason. If you can get yourself in the right environment with the right people, the right cultural fit, and that where you feel like you're operating on all cylinders,
Mhm.
that's you're gonna be happy, and
Yes.
that's important.
And people see it.
Oh yeah, and then you're more successful. If you are happy in what you do, you become more successful with it.
I use the analogy only because I'm a parent. If I wasn't,
Yeah.
I'd have another one. But being a leader, especially at a C-suite level, it's a lot like being a parent because you worry about everyone that reports to you,
Mhm.
but you also have to be your authentic self
Yep.
to show up because you want to teach through your actions.
Mhm.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing at Grange.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you're willing to say, "Hey, I'm vulnerable. I made a mistake. This is why. Let's talk about." I mean, I think postmortems on careers would be amazing for people.
It would be action. Like when you leave a role, like, okay,
Yes.
let's do a deep dive.
Here's my
What worked?
journey.
What didn't work? What makes more sense for you? Yeah.
Especially when you have the legacy that you have all the years in it. So you've
Mhm.
seen how the company has evolved. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's incredible knowledge to pass along to somebody.
Yeah, I think just giving people permission to I always tell people, I don't go home with you. You go home with yourself.
Yes.
Are you happy? Does
Mhm.
it make you happy? And it's okay if you're not. Let's find you a role that makes you happy. Or maybe it's outside of the company that makes you happy. Maybe it's a completely different field. But when I've seen people have a relief of permission to put themselves first and start to really explore and then find those roles, they come back and tell me thank you. Like I'm
That's
happy.
amazing.
Because
Doesn't that make you I mean,
oh
that's
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
a lot of things that people, like we were chatting about that we take home, right?
Mhm.
I remember weekends if I had to make a really difficult
Yep.
decision that I knew was gonna be hard, like, I took that very personally,
Hmm.
and I think that when you share that with your people that you're working with, I think they appreciate it
Yeah.
and seeing it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are a real, honest, genuine leader, I think that might inspire people to go maybe be in the succession plan line
Yeah. Absolutely.
versus someone I mean, we've all had that bad boss, right? I mean, the joke back when we were all in offices was my boss just reads the paper every morning and we walk by we've all had that person, right? Um,
I find great
I
things.
don't yeah, I'm like, "How do they do that?"
I don't know.
Because they're not leading enough.
That's true. They're not doing
They were
the
not
hard
out
part.
on the floor
Yeah.
talking to they were not understanding what the problems were.
Mhm.
They just expected everything to be fed to them. So I think that type of leadership and that table is gone.
Yep.
I saw it early in my career, but now I see what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Much more collaboration,
Yep.
a much more accepting of, or I wouldn't say accepting, but inclusive of different ideas at the table.
Absolutely.
Did
Yeah.
you have a challenge early on? Because I mean, the fact is, it's still a male dominated. FinServ is still male dominated.
Yep.
So, any woman that's gone multi generational has had a challenge getting to the table, right, or
Mhm.
the glass ceiling, or however you want to define it. Do you see that it's changed? So, for people that have maybe the drive that you did, right? I'm starting out as a claims manager, but I know I want to be a chief claims officer someday.
Mhm.
Do you think the path is a little easier? Are there still some of the same challenges?
I think it's much easier. What's interesting is I've actually had harder female mentors, like much harder on me than I have had male mentors.
Hmm.
I've actually had more nurturing on the male side than I have on the female side because they grew up in a hard world, so they want to toughen you up. And I think that's changing, which I'm really excited about
Yes.
because the female mentorship has taken on a whole nuance. I'm seeing the level right above me take become very intentional with wanting to nurture and bring women up. Same with males who have done that since I started. So that part I'm really excited about to see females mentoring females in a way that is very positive. So that's great. And I do think the path is becoming easier. Is it easy? No.
Right.
There's
It's
no
not
path.
easy for
It's
anybody
it's
though,
not
right?
easy for
Yeah.
anybody. You still have to prove yourself and prove that you should be there and that you should be able to do that in any role, right? So I still think it's going to be a challenging path, but I think it's much better than when I first started and much better than the generation
They're
who
like,
I give a
you
lot
want
of
to do
kudos
what,
to.
Barbara?
I know. They pat me on the head and like, okay, you're a little bit nuts
It's
there.
great to have a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Don't crush it yet. Let's
Yeah,
let her keep working hard, you know?
Right.
So, but yeah, I do think it's better. And I'm really pleased with the female leaderships, women in leadership now, because they're really embracing their responsibility.
That's great. That's good to hear. Good to hear
Yeah.
that there's progress made. One thing that you would give to our listeners, if you could, about the journey to the table or getting there, or just any advice, because everybody needs, a little nugget to keep them going, because it's a hard road.
It's a hard road. So I had a business law teacher in high school give me the best advice, and he said, "You make your own luck." And I feel like that is critical. It's a hard journey, and you have to work hard. Nothing's handed to you. You will have to work hard for it. And sometimes you end up in a role that you replace somebody and you're doing more of that role than they had to do.
Yes.
And you end up taking on more. My advice is take on more. Know
Great
that
advice.
that is going to be something that sets you apart, especially generationally. It set me apart in my generation. It would set you apart in your generation. Take on more. If you can do that and try to create that balance. It's a tough balance.
It
I
is.
know I've got kids, I've got a family, and I want to make sure that I'm there for them and keep that balance. But it is a hard job. And I would say if you do not like to make hard decisions and kind of the conflict, probably not the journey for you. Probably
Yes,
not.
it's not. Yeah, you have to have or thicken skin.
You have to have thick skin, and the way to get thick skin is to get, unfortunately, what we call feedback.
Yes.
Criticism, and it's not always pleasant. But one of my bosses, when I was early on in my career, goes, "Wow," he goes, "You know what I like about you is I can really criticize you." And I said, "Thank you,
Excellent. I'm glad.
Thank you." I said,
I'm
"Well,
glad there's so much you can talk about.
I'm glad you have a whole arsenal of things to say."
Yeah.
So, but that did set me apart because then I could grow from it. Like it hurt, absolutely,
Yes, it
hurt my
does.
little feelings, but I didn't let it show. But if you can grow from it, but you got to be thick skinned.
That's great coaching, right? In sports, you say, "Hey, throw faster, run faster."
Yeah.
You have to take that feedback. And I had a similar experience with, because I aspired to be in C-suite someday, and I would ask every CEO I could get in front of, "What is the most important quality when you're hiring somebody?" And almost all of them said coachability. And I think what you're saying falls into it.
Absolutely.
Not just coaching you to be great,
Yeah.
but when you're not great, to be able to take the feedback and say, "Hey, it's okay, but I want to help you so you don't do this again, because it's not great for you or your career or whatever it may be." So I think you're spot on, and I think we don't. I think mentoring today is what I'm seeing is too much uplift.
Yeah.
Instead of having a good mentor will have those conversations and say, maybe you should take a public speaking class, and maybe you should go out and have a couple hard knocks, because it's not this rosy where we go. But if you can't take the criticism, you don't also get good at giving it.
And you don't grow.
Right.
So I have a mentee right now that all she's gotten is flowery, and she's really good.
Yeah.
She's really good. And she goes, "You're the first person who's given me direct
What
feedback."
Right.
And I said, "I want you to grow,
Mhm.
and I do it in a very nice way. I'm like, hey, you thought about X, Y, and Z? I think this could help you to get better." But I've seen like a huge change in her. And
She will remember you through her
Yeah,
whole career, just like you remember your mentor.
Exactly.
There's always that one person that gives you the aha moment. Hey, I'm not everything I think I am.
Exactly.
Right.
Like
And we all need to hear it.
Yeah,
We all need
that's
to
what
hear it.
I think true mentoring is.
Agree. Well, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time today, Barbara. It was
Appreciate
lovely chatting with you, and hopefully the listeners will check us out on Spotify and all the platforms so that you can hear Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Table. If you like this episode, please follow us and subscribe so that others can find us. Until next time, go out and find a seat at your table.